As we enter a time of constant trade rumors in the NBA, as the NBA trade deadline approaches relatively soon. It's not that close, but we're getting there. One of the names you're going to see pop up a lot, but probably doesn't have too much weight to it, is Jimmy Butler. Some context, Francis. First off, would the Bulls trade Jimmy Butler? Probably not. The reason why this is coming up was a fantastic article by Matt Moore in CBS Sports. And as he pointed out, two important quotes for context. The first has to do with The Athletic and what they reported back during the Derrick Rose trade in the NBA draft. Quote number one is, the Bulls explored several deals involving Butler on draft night. You remember this, to the Minnesota Timberwolves for what ended up being Chris Dunn. One day after trading Derrick Rose to the New York Knicks, a Butler trade over the summer would have meant a full-on rebuild. The decision to keep him, along with July free agent signing of Rondo and Wade, marked the end of any thought of it going in that direction, at least for the time being. Sources with knowledge of the Bulls' thinking emphatically deny that the notion that all-star swingman Jimmy Butler is available, given all the chaos enveloping the Bulls lately, with considerable doubt bubbling about how much longer Rondo will stick around in Chicago. Would the Bulls trade Jimmy Butler?
Why would they? They look good. They look like they're bringing things together well, but as you mentioned, a great article here. One of my favorite quotes from the article is, with the Bulls wobbling over the 500 mark like a young college who has maybe one too many gold slinger shots. I could definitely relate to that. They're wandering back and forth between it. And Rajon Rondo removed from the rotation entirely. There's been a lot of speculation about the future of the Bulls, and that's very true, because this is a team that were bringing together youth experience, great trades early on, also great draft picks, and I was thinking they could be a good team. They could be on a similar path as the Celtics are on. And then things just start to not come together as you'd expect as the season progresses. But one thing that has came together more often than anything else is Jimmy Butler's form. Fantastic two-way guard, phenomenal asset to any team. And what Jimmy Butler does is he puts himself in the conversation as to one of the best top 20, top 10, top 15 players in the NBA. And when you're in that category, what starts to happen is your ambition starts to be the forefront of most conversations. The way in the same categories as Kevin Durant, as these players that are on the cusp of greatness, and they just want to think about it at the end of their career. Do you want to have these accolades attached to your name, or do you want to be known as a player who was great but never really gave a great shot at potentially winning
a championship? It actually happens so much more than not in terms of players who just can't get into even a stage like the Eastern or Western Conference Finals. What I find so interesting is, like, the Grizzlies have been to the Western Conference Finals with Mike Conley and Marc Gasol and Zach Randolph. And a lot of those guys, usually they're injured at that point, or they're injuring other players. They're a physical style team. But it's remarkable, because to get to even that stage changes an entire conversation. Like, if the Bulls, for example, this season, no trades made, were to make their way into the Eastern Conference Finals to face the Cavaliers, or sure, maybe the Raptors, but the Cavaliers, then it changes the whole dynamic. It changes the whole, can they compete? Look how much it changed the Raptors' narrative that they made the Eastern Conference Finals last year and won 2 of those games. It did. It made it made for a little bit more spotlight shined in the North. Regardless, in terms of the Bulls trading Jimmy Butler, it would be so surprising, I think, to me, just because I don't remember a time where the Bulls have ever made a blockbuster summer deal, and Matt Moore alluded to that too. I get the idea of you want to rebuild at some point, and this experiment is still waiting for a full answer, some actual results, because we haven't gotten to the All-Star break yet. We don't know if the Bulls can get hot right before the break and try to take that energy back into the second half. What I do know is that Butler and Wade together have worked out fine. Actually, it's made Jimmy Butler the best version of Jimmy Butler, and I attribute a lot of that to Dwayne Wade. I attribute an equal amount to playing in the Olympics over the summer. Work ethic, all that stuff. However, Rondo's a problem, and I know he's probably the most misunderstood player in the league, hence why all his ex-teammates seem to say he's the most misunderstood player in the league. He does not, I just don't think he respects authority. I don't think he likes the idea of a coach telling him what to do at any point, and that's a problem. So he's going to probably be on his way out at some point. Now I don't know where Rondo goes. However, what people want to know is, if Jimmy Butler were to get traded, where would he go? And it seems like there's 3 reasonable options Sure, the Celtics, always the Celtics, but more likely than not, I mean, if you're going to really think about who can offer it, the Nuggets have the pieces, have the young talent and the picks to get someone like Jimmy Butler in return, and so do Mark Cuban and the Mavericks. Not Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban doesn't play basketball. He owns the team, but the Mavericks do. And if I'm Jimmy Butler, I want to stay in Chicago. You've put so much into that, and I think he's beloved by Chicago. I think that would be such a backstabbing move.
I think I'm not worried about what he should be doing in terms of his allegiance to the Bulls. I'm thinking if you go to the Mavericks, I think it's a sidestep. If you go to the Nuggets, I think it's another sidestep.
Maybe you can go to the Mavericks for a second and then lock yourself in the house like DeAndre Jordan.
and then have everyone come and save you back. And if you go to the Celtics, I think it's I'd say like a 10% direct. If I'm looking at the direction I'm seeing here, probably like this far forward, it's a step in the right direction. It's just not like the full direction that I think he's going to if he wants to win a championship. But there's things to be. If someone comes in and offers a badass deal with picks for the future, I think the Bulls should listen to it because I think their experiment at the moment hasn't necessarily worked. During Derrick Rose's time early in their season, early in his career, they looked great and they're like, we can go forward. We can go forward here. And then with his injury and his knees decline, and the team has somewhat declined with his knees. So do you just scrap it and just say, all right, let's just rebuild. Let's just try and get this franchise back to where we know it can get to by building from the ground up. And that could take a big superstar move like Jimmy Butler moving and getting some unbelievable picks going through. And I think that the Celtics are someone that could potentially offer that. So I would like to see Jimmy Butler in Boston.
They're just in, they've hit an intersection where they have to decide, and at some point over the next month or two in the Bulls' court, they have to figure out, do we want to scrap this and rebuild because what we have right now we know cannot win a championship this year, cannot win a championship next year. Even with a free agent period, I still don't think they have enough to really resurge. Or do they decide, no, we're going to go with this, we're going to try to defy expectations, and we're going to need Jimmy Butler to do what he's doing and then even step it up even more to really become one of the 5 or 6 or 7 best players in the league? I think it's more likely that they should consider finding a way to just rebuild around Butler. But the problem is, you're in an awkward position because you're a playoff team, you're a 7-8 seed, but you're probably going to get rocked by the Cavaliers or the Raptors or the Celtics in the first round. Maybe on your home court you take a game. Is that what you want? Do you want a first-round exit?
And this may sound a little outlandish, but I think everyone in the Eastern Conference is playing, or should be thinking, apart from maybe the Raptors, is they're preparing for LeBron James's demise, waiting for him to finally work his way down.
But the problem is they've been doing, they really, at what point? Because you probably got 2.5, 3 more years of that demise having to come. So 25-year-olds will be 29 by the time that happens.
Exactly. So if you're signing right now to try and get an immediate return, it's not going to work because if LeBron James is still there and they're building around him with Kyrie Irving's, with Kyle Korver's and Kevin Love's, it's going to be...
It's Kyle Korver's team?
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a very, very tough task to try and compete with a team that doesn't show any signs of decline. And so that's why I always give respect to what the Celtics are doing. Is they want to give their fans something to go and see and something that's encouraging and they like. But deep down, the Celtics know that even when if they get into the playoffs, when they do, they're not going to compete still with the likes of the Cavaliers. And it's just a way of preparing so that when that inevitable day, we don't know how long it's going to be, comes, you're going to be first in line to pick up from where LeBron James and those guys left off.
Correct. Lastly, Matt Moore's most important point when it comes to trade rumors, I think this is really important because he has an understanding, as he's been on with podcasts and talked to NBA owners and GMs many times in the past. He had this to say at the end. The best way to approach this is probably like this. If a team calls and offers a dynamite multiple prospect offer for Butler, the Bulls will listen and then talk about it. But picking up the phone when it rings and being the one to make the call are different. And that's what people need to realize is, of course, we're talking about basketball. We're talking about sports in general. The phone is always ringing. And picking up that phone just to hear it. Jamal Murray, Kenneth Faried, first-round pick this year, first-round pick next year, Jimmy Butler. That's interesting. I'll talk it over, but it's different when you're calling them to deal Butler compared to being called now.
Yeah.
So people are going to be like, oh, they're going to see the title and they're going to go, Jimmy Butler going to be traded, clickbait title, oh, this, and that. Just a conversation. I got to sneeze so bad. So comment below, like, favorite, subscribe, at Jason Rubin, at Francis Maxwell. We'll see you next time.